Welcome to the Miracles Happen Fertility podcast, where science and spirit are the focus of creating your most fertile life. You'll find a beautiful balance of grounded science-based topics as well as spiritual talk, and how they are both important for moving toward optimal fertility. Empower yourself along with me. I'm your host, Dr. Maria Rothenberger, a fellow fertility friend, therapist, coach, best-selling author, and spirit baby intuitive. Let's get started. Hi there. Welcome once again to the Miracles Happen Fertility podcast. This is episode 151, where we are going to be talking about the all-important, upcoming, glaring in your face Mother's Day and Father's Day. How to cope with Mother's and Father's Day when you are struggling with fertility or adoption, or you've lost a parent, or you've decided to move on to child-free living. It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And I don't recall ever in the years that I have done this podcast, I don't recall if I have done an episode like this. So it's high time, yeah? Also, I've written about it. I've written about coping strategies, various ways to deal with these holidays, but a lot of the links are now not working because I just looked back at those articles and I'm like, whoa, I guess it's time to update that. I think my most recent one was like 2015 or something, which is crazy. So the difference with today's recording, though, is that I'm going to be talking about it from this perspective of how I've evolved over the years of this podcast, where I used to be completely solely focused on mental health and dealing with fertility issues with a little like spritz of spirituality. This year, 2022, I am really focused on spirituality within the context of fertility and adoption. Well, just family building in general. And so today I'm going to be talking about coping with these holidays from a mind, body, spirit perspective. So I think this is going to be unique for me, and I think it'll be, I hope it'll be, crossing fingers, it's going to be really helpful for you. All right, so checking in about the Miracles Happen Fertility Center, what's happening. We are underway with the Spirit Baby Foundations training. It is a delight, and we are I decided to move out of the support group for the class has moved out of Facebook. Yay! And over to Mighty Networks, which is ad-free and all that. All the cost is from me. Like, I pay for it so that you don't have to deal with that bullshit of Facebook and social media crap, which I don't really love myself. So moving away from that and loving it. It's like a cocooning effect, just me and the group, and it's been such a great time. So if you are part of that and listening now, thank you so much for joining. And if you are not part of Spirit Baby Foundations training, I will likely run it again. I don't know. Originally, I was planning on doing it twice a year. It is quite taxing on my spirit. It's a lot of energy. And so I'm wondering about reducing that to once a year. So we'll see. But I'm also considering running a non-live version. So you still get all the learnings and all of the modules and resources and all that. But there won't be any live classes. There'll still be the support group in Mighty Networks, but no live classes. So if that's something, by the way, that you are interested in, I would love to know, because I'll start a list and then I'll know if it's, something that I should consider offering. So email me, info@drmariarothenberger.com. And that's Rothenberger, Burger. All right. So let's start talking about coping with Mother's Day and Father's Day. We are coming, I'm doing this podcast episode on the heels of National Infertility Awareness Week, which I like to call National Fertility Awareness Week. So emotions may be running high, and you might be, thinking a lot about your journey and moving forward and what that's going to look like. And now you have, these huge celebrations. I mean, Mother's Day is crazy in your face with emails and social media, if you're on social media, and people just making plans, right? In your family or your friends making plans for Mother's Day. And not only are there folks who are struggling to build their family, but there are folks who don't have their mothers here for whatever reason, whether they are passed on or they're just simply not in their life. It is a really difficult day for a lot of people. Now, am I saying that folks can't celebrate? Oh my gosh, absolutely not. Right. And I think that that's important to acknowledge that, we're not asking people to, not celebrate this beautiful day. I'm suggesting that we take care of ourselves in the face of people celebrating this beautiful day. And we're going to start today talking about the mind. Okay, so this is where my training is. So I know a lot of great ways to support yourself and your mental health around these holidays, Mother's Day and Father's Day. And men, I encourage you, if you haven't checked out the IVF Dad yet, which I believe is being published in July 2022, at least go to the website www.theivfdad.com, and he is on social media. You can get beautiful support from Keegan Prue. I got to read an advanced copy of his book, and I got to interview him on this podcast. He is a wealth of information and resources. Highly recommend, because I'm not a man, right? And so I don't know what it's like to experience fertility issues from a man's perspective, and he's got a ton of great resources. So if you find that the information that I'm talking about today isn't quite hitting the mark for you because it's from female perspective, albeit a mental health therapist, but it's still female perspective, by all means, please head over to theivfdad.com. He's fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to talk about, as I said, coping with these holidays from a mind, body, spirit perspective. And let's start with the mind. So the first thing that folks try to do, I found around Mother's Day, is to ignore it. They like delete emails, or they just they turn off the TV if they see a commercial, or they just try to ignore what's happening. And that isn't always the wisest thing to do. I think that, in my opinion, this is both personal and professional opinion, I feel like it dishonors the pain. And I think that in order to really move well through triggers like this, really huge triggers like this, we have to honor the pain. So try your hardest to sit with how hard this day is for you. And it doesn't have to be all day. I'm not saying to travel down the rabbit hole of emotional pain. I'm saying to really honor that this is hard for you. And it makes sense that it's hard. It makes total sense that you'd be, depressed or anxious or angry on this day. So honor that, because you're being a human being and not distracting all the time. Something hard comes up is the way to move through difficult moments. It's what people say. I think that, we're just humans, and so we want to avoid pain as much as possible, right? Like, we're in physical pain, give us the drugs, right? That's what we need. And so that is not the wisest way to move through this emotional trauma, this grief. And so I encourage you to at least set aside 30 minutes of time on Mother's Day and on Father's Day to honor your pain. And this can look like various things. This can look like journaling. This can look like creating art. This could look like sitting and crying in a ball on your bed. This could be staying in bed for a while longer that day and just in that morning and just being there. I really encourage you to allow the grief to be there. And then you can move on to the distraction, the things that are distracting to you or distracting for you. in this case, because you're choosing to distract yourself from the pain, which is totally fine. So here's what I encourage you to do to help distract: anything that puts you in control, because this whole thing, not in your control, right? All this fertility stuff, losing a parent, it's not in your control. And so I encourage you to do things that put yourself squarely in control. And that means creating plans for the day, if you would like, doing things that resonate with you, doing things that are a celebration in a different way. So like one of the articles that I wrote was to plan a ladies' day with some friends who don't have kids or are not going to bring their kids, and you don't talk about kids that day. You can have fun with your partner. You can go on a cheese and wine tour, or go to lunch or shopping, or get massages, hiking, have a picnic, go camping for the weekend. Lots of things that you can do without kids around, and to celebrate you guys as a family. There are other things that you can do that are a little bit cheesy. Speaking of cheese, and I like a little cheese. I like a lot of cheese, actually. So you can create new holidays to celebrate. You know, it could be mom related, like Mother to Be Day, or it can be totally not related, like Cinema Supporters Day, and go watch a bunch of movies or something. You can just make up your own thing. You really can. Or you can just be like, it's whatever, it's Sunday. I'm just going to do my normal Sunday things. Yeah. Now, that said, if you cannot avoid Mother's Day completely, let's say you have family members that you're still celebrating their motherhood, or friends that you're still celebrating their motherhood, it's perfectly fine if it feels comfortable to you. Please, you can always say no. Or I pass this year. I'm passing. It really depends on where you are in your mental, emotional state in terms of what you can handle. If it absolutely feels not manageable, and to me on a scale, you'd like to use a scale of 1 to 10. To me, a scale of 1 to 10, an 8 or above, totally not manageable. Nope, not going there. A 7 it's tolerable about 15 to 30 minutes. And a 6 and below is like, obviously there's a grade there. Like 4 and below is generally manageable all day. A 5 and a 6, using skills to really soothe yourself, to calm yourself down, to get yourself down to a 4 or below is great. You may need to do that throughout the day. But right, if you're at an 8 or above, no, it's a no-go. Absolutely not. And if you choose to go because you're at like a 4, but then you get there and you're now a 7, and then you scooch up to an 8, goodbye. I have to go. It's my turn. It's my time to go. Have a great rest of your celebration. I'm out of here. Obviously, you can be more eloquent than that, but total permission to do that. Absolutely. Tune in with yourself in this moment, yourself on that day, yourself when you're doing the things that you want to do, and pivot if you need to. Absolute total permission. And if anybody has an issue with that, give them my email address and they can complain directly to me. I'll take the heat. Okay, so those are the things that I make suggestions about for your mental wellness. There are myriad things that you can do, and I certainly encourage you to tune into what those things are for yourself, right? Because everybody is different. Yay! And you can choose for yourself what resonates and what makes sense to you to do in that day. Some other things that I've talked about are, if you really want to support and honor your grief or your upset, is to look through pictures. Let's say that you've lost a parent. You can look through pictures and talk about them, honor them in this way. You can look at ultrasound pictures, or if you have pictures of your infant that has since passed on, look at pictures, talk about them, memorialize them, create this honoring space for them. Something a little less difficult or taxing on the mind, picking up a new book, not related to fertility or anything, making new art. And there's a bonus for that too, that when you do artsy things and you do creative things, it's not only great for mental health and emotional health, it's great for spiritual health, energetic health. It's a second chakra thing, and that is all about fertility, right? Making a baby is creation. Yeah. So that's the point there. All of these things, by the way, I can delineate and I can say, oh, this is for the mind and this thing is for the body and this thing is for the spirit, but they're all related. We can't separate them. I can talk about it that way, but it's all still related, right? So here's the mental health thing, allowing grief to be there. That's still an emotional thing, right? So we're talking about, and then emotions affect the body. We're talking about all of it all together. All right, so those are just some suggestions. I encourage you to make a plan for that day because that puts you squarely in control of the day. And everything is about trying to feel some kind of sense of control. You can't allow yourself to feel out of control for a little bit of time when you're allowing the grief to be there. It can feel quite out of control. Totally fine. Again, I wouldn't suggest going down the rabbit hole all day that way, but at least allow a certain amount of time, whatever resonates with you, 5 minutes, 2 hours. It doesn't matter what you choose. Just make it clear to yourself, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to honor this grief for this amount of time, and then I'm going to move on to my plans for the day. All right, so that's for mental, emotional health. How about body? How to take care of your body. Now, of course, again, this does affect your mental, emotional health and your spiritual health, all connected. But some of the suggestions are to take care of your body so that it's like a very tangible, easy thing to do so that you can prepare yourself well for difficult moments. The very first thing that I say to everybody in the mental health world and certainly in the spiritual world, and the physical world, but in the mental health world, sleep. Sleep, 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 sleep. Number one thing to target first. Sleep is imperative to taking care of yourself well, not just physically, but I've put it in this category because it's an obvious physical thing that we can do. So, if you are not sleeping well, please start now to create some new sleep hygiene. You can look up all kinds of ways to create healthy sleep for yourself. And I always encourage meditating too, right? Giant meditator over here. Check out some guided meditations or just music on Insight Timer, or there are lots of other apps out there, Calm, Headspace, lots of apps that you can use to create a beautiful meditative experience. And sleep stories are now a thing where you can listen to stories to help wind down and go to sleep. Okay, now this is also one of my favorite things for sleep. Although, if you're going to use a device, please put it on that sepia tone or, night mode so that you don't have that blue light, keeping your brainwave activity going. One of my favorite things to fall asleep is Bob Ross. I get on YouTube and I put on a Bob Ross episode. He is so lovely and his energy is so serene and his work is so serene that I fall asleep in like 10 minutes. And I'm kind of bent out of shape because I really want to see how the painting ends up. But I end up having such droopy eyes that I fall asleep so easily. So highly recommend Bob Ross. He's on YouTube now, and I'm sure you can find him elsewhere, but very, very helpful for falling asleep. Now, some of the other things that you can do to take care of your body, we know nutrition, right? But here's one caveat with nutrition. Now, heads up, I am not a physician. I am not a nutritionist. You may have heard me say that a million times on this podcast, but I always like to offer that disclaimer. But when it comes to fertility and when it comes to grief, when it comes to all of these really intense emotions, food is something in our culture that we use to soothe and to support ourselves, right? The one thing that happens a lot in the fertility world is that there's a restriction. It's you can't have this, you can't have that, or I need to add things in order to make conception and carrying to term happen. So now I have to take all these supplements. I have to take them at just the right time. It has to be like this. It has to be like that. And if I mess it up even a little bit, the whole thing's screwed. So I'm going to encourage you on Mother's Day or Father's Day to consume what you want, to consume what feels right to you. And I'm not even saying in moderation. I'm saying consume what feels right to you, because that is not going to completely derail all the things. It's just one day. If it feels right to you. Now, you know internally, if you're about to take that, like 8th, bottle of beer, hopefully it's not that much, but you know what I'm saying? If you're about to take something else or eat something else or drink something else that is maybe doesn't totally resonate with you, you know it inside. And so I encourage you to pay attention to that and honor yourself with, eating the gluten-full thing or having that full-fat dairy or whatever it is that you're abstaining from, or, maybe you forget a supplement. Okay, that's fine. Maybe you're not taking any supplements at all that day. Completely fine if it feels right to you, okay? So consume things that feel right to you that day, that feel joyful, that feel supportive, that feel calming, that feel good. They just feel good to you. Other things that you can do physically is to grab a hug, grab a cuddle. There is a huge bonus to physical touch with someone that you love, as there is a beautiful release of oxytocin, which folks call the love hormone. And when you have oxytocin flooded through the body, it helps to settle down and to calm down those adrenals and to reduce the cortisol levels in the body. It's very soothing and very helpful on a chemical level for the body, but obviously for the mind, emotions, and the spirit as well. Other things, take a wine tour, go work out. If you like doing that, that wouldn't be me, but maybe you like working out. Go for a beautiful hike, be in nature, make a picnic. We've already talked about that. So these are things that you can physically go do. I really want to go kayaking. I really want to get a kayak and we live a mile from a river and we can get onto that river anytime we want. It is so much fun, and we don't own kayaks. WTF. That's got to be on our bucket list for this year. Get out in nature. There's something very healing about nature too, not just for the body, but certainly for the mind and the spirit. Okay, speaking of spirit, let's talk about spirit. Yay, my new 2022 thing that I'm heavy on now, heavy on the spirit. I used to be spirit light, and now I'm heavy on the spirit stuff. All right, so barring things that are obvious, like going to a medium or something like that to talk to folks on the other side, folks who have passed on or babies that are waiting to be born, you can do things in this physical realm that buoy your spirits, right? You already know this, and I would love to hear your ideas too, but here are some of mine. And we've already actually talked about a few, right? Because mind, body, spirit are not separate. Just reiterating that. What about picking up a new book about spirit babies? There are many out there. There's a famous one, Spirit Babies by Walter McKitchen. There's The Cosmic Cradle. Just go on to Amazon or wherever you like to purchase your books and look up spirit baby stuff. You can find lots of good stuff about that. Pick up a book about healing, about healing grief, or things completely not related. Just things that resonate with you and that are fun and that are interesting to read. Maybe it's fiction. There is a fantastic book book series that I love called Aurora Rising. It's YA. It's a YA genre because I'm writing a YA novel right now, and so I needed to get like a flavor for. I like to get a flavor for some authors. It's a really great series. Highly recommend. It's futuristic. It is, science fiction. Fantastic. Highly recommend. Aurora Rising. So fun. And other things. Of course, I said mediumship, spirit baby readings, maybe talking to a medium about your mom who has passed on. Other things that help cleanse and clear your energy, crystals, actually going to a practitioner for an energy clearing or healing, listening to beautiful music, sound baths. Oh my gosh. I did not know how healing and phenomenal sound baths are until I went to one. I think I've talked about this on this podcast probably a few times now. I felt like I had a full body massage. I totally felt like I did. It was amazing, and highly recommend that, not just for your spiritual wellness, but your body and your mind as well. You see how these are all crossing over? Essential oils to help with buoying your spirit. Anything that's like citrusy, like orange, lemon, lemongrass, those things they're useful to buoy your spirits. Or you can use essential oils that are great for soothing. Essential oils that are great for all of it are things like lavender, frankincense. Those are so great. I did an episode on essential oils. You can do a search for that too. I interviewed somebody who's an expert. I am not an essential oil expert, so highly recommend you research that on your own. I always recommend you research it on your own, right? Because I'm just one person and I might not resonate with you, or a lot of the things that I say may not resonate with you. Totally 100% fine, because we are different human beings, right? So go do your research, find the essential oils that resonate with you. Right now, you might even hear my diffuser in the background here. I have a charging blend in my diffuser right now, and that is frankincense. What else did I put in there? Frankincense, clary sage, and there's one more, but I don't remember what it was. But it's just so great, and I can even feel a buoyant energy for me today. So quite useful. And who cares? Here's the thing too, side note. A lot of folks, oh, that's just placebo. Well, then great. Who cares? Look at what my body can do. That's amazing. I'm so glad that the placebo effect exists, because my body is amazing. I'll take it. All right, so use some essential oils. They also have these pieces of jewelry. People create jewelry that hold essential oils in them, so you can wear them all day and smell them all day. Some essential oils don't last all day. They only last a couple of hours or something, but you can always reapply, and they're really, really helpful. I actually went to the bank recently. I actually literally went inside the bank. Who does that anymore? Everything's like digital, but I had to go in there for whatever reason. And the gal that was helping me out had an essential oil, beautiful necklace. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so gorgeous. She's like, yeah, I have some anxiety, so I just put lavender in there and I smell it all day. It works so great. I'm like, yeah, it does work great. So highly recommend that, and see how that is also mental health, right? Anxiety. Lavender, yay! Frankincense, also useful for that. You can also use things like flower essences. If you haven't heard of Bach's flower remedies, and I'm not an expert here either, so I certainly recommend talking to other folks, but I've used Bach's flower remedies before. They are fantastic. They are homeopathy, essentially. And if you want to know, by the way, homeopathy stuff and research behind it, there is a fantastic book called The Field by, I think it's Lynn McTavish. Oh, actually don't. I know I have the book here somewhere, but I don't have it in front of me, but it's called The Field. Absolutely great. And there's a chapter in there where she talks about homeopathy and the research behind it. Anyway, it's fantastic. So I use Bach's flower remedies. There's one specifically that's called Rescue Remedy. Now, here's a brief story about it. It's for anxiety, okay? And here's like, whoa, okay, this can't be the placebo effect. So I have a dog named Jake, and you may have seen his picture on social media. He is beautiful. He's a gorgeous silver lab with these lovely blue eyes, but he has a lot of anxiety. And we used to go up every year to a house that my in-laws had for Thanksgiving. We would go up every year, and every year we would go there. Jake would get really, really anxious. Now, energetically speaking, I know why. There was some, not not so pleasant vibes in that house. But back then we didn't understand what was going on. So he was just anxious. He would get like TMI, but he would get a lot of diarrhea and he would just be miserable. So the third year that we were going up, now knowing 2 years prior he was just sick, I picked up Rescue Remedy for pets and I gave it to him. And we went and he was chill. Like he was his normal energetic lab self, but no anxiety, to the point where people were like, what happened to Jake? Like, did you give him like doggy Xanax? And I'm like, basically, yeah, we did. Rescue Remedy. It's phenomenal. I've used it for like public speaking or just general anxiety. If I've felt general anxiety in the past, it's really effective. Totally recommend you check it out, and other box flower remedies, although there are plenty of other flower essences out there. All right, so those are just the tip of the iceberg in terms of things that you can do to take care of yourself on Mother's Day and Father's Day. At the very least, if you take nothing else from this podcast episode, first honor the grief, then do the things that day. First, create space to honor the grief, then do the things that day. All right, thinking about you, sending you so much peace, sending you so much wellness and creation and movement through these holidays with relative ease. And I will see you next time. Be well.